Good morning. Happy Friday. What the hell is that you're showing there now, Capper? Now, we looked at this, I don't know, last month. So all of those lines mark off options expirations. The black ones are quarterlies and the red ones are monthlies. And so you can see not every one was significant, but it's information that makes sense to be aware of, pay attention to. So it doesn't match exact highs or lows, but many times there's some kind of a turn that's coming. As you go and you look at these, sometimes there's retest patterns, sometimes there's continuation patterns, and sometimes there's significant turning points in that area, continuation, roll, flip back up again, so on and so on and so forth. So as you can see, why I'm talking about this, because today is an options expiration. Now, that doesn't mean today is going to be a turn. It just says we're in an area that it would make sense for there to be a turn. And so markets have been going up since April, pretty much with a little blip over here, which made us think, hey, it would go down into the options expiration, but that didn't happen. So now as market continued up, I think that we need to be watching for a turning point in the coming week. Right? Maybe the markets need to catch their breath. I think that's probably a good thing. Markets needing to catch their breath. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to get something like this. I mean, that's the unknown. Some news item could come out, right, that shocks the markets. But just the way things have been moving, we start with momentum as we're looking at the S&Ps is slowing, and they're not doing too much here, up a little bit, but we've seen a lot of what we were talking about for a while and looking for it and didn't happen. Right? There were failures, the catch-up trades, right? The Russell and the transports and such, and they started participating this week, which is great. Now, we've been here, done that before, meaning you remember, and maybe it was like a year ago, I forget exactly, but we talked about the same thing. The big caps, the Magnificent Seven, moving the market up. The breadth was terrible. The others have to participate. They participated and the market topped out. Maybe that's going to happen again. So we have this options expiration today. I'm hopeful that the Russell and the Dow continue to move up today. Obviously we're going to see, but let's see what the broader markets are doing. S&Ps are up here a little bit, and the screen had come up when I switched like that. Let's see here. Did I? Let me redo this because I gave this thing a little bit of a heart attack. There you go. So what do we call yesterday's bar on the S&Ps? What do we call that bar on the S&Ps in context of this move up? Exactly, Rocco. Good. A correction bar. It took out the prior low and it popped back up again. And so that would suggest it should continue to go higher. And it also gives us a new reference point of a stop, meaning that level being a correction bar should not be violated on a short-term basis. And on a long-term basis, as we get into the coming weeks, this bullish 180 reversal that occurred on many indices should not get violated. If it does, the markets have changed. Maybe that's going to happen in September and October, right? Those are bearish months. Um, but those will be the reference points that we'll be looking at. So 6,400 as we go to SPX, right? We'll 64, 63, 62, the whole numbers. So keep an eye on those as we go into the coming month. All right. So the Qs are underperforming. Right? They led the way up, and they're not doing too much. So this would not be our go-to index for intraday trades. Right? Um, maybe it catches up, but it's sloppy. I'd rather focus on YM and the Dow for intraday trades. As far as indices go. Let's peek at the internals here. They have not lined up here yet. Um, they're close, but not there. So maybe we get some additional move to the upside that they line up, or maybe look. While this options expiration thing that I'm showing you, the market can continue to go up next week, right? Where and then it eventually makes the turn. We're just in an area, so don't think like in absolutes here. We don't have any patterns yet that support thinking lower, or even credit spreads, it for that matter, as far as the indices go. All right. Um, so YM, it's at the prior high. It's up here a little bit right there. Maybe we're going to get some jiggles in its stalls, but this nice reversal. So there's a slide in MT Live that we review on most of them when we look at the candle, 3 candles or 2 candles or whatever amount of candles it is, and it says call it what you want. It says it's going to go up. So while we look at correction bars and bottoming tail bars, this pattern right here, this 3-bar pattern is like a bottoming tail bar. It dipped and it went up. It's about retracements, not about the candle names. So being up here, maybe it just continues, goes sideways. Ideally, it goes sideways, but I want it to go up today because I want to trade it long. I want to see it go up, continue to go up, but we'll see what actually happens. But this reversal here, that's bullish. And so maybe the Dow can, move up to make new all-time highs. So yet to be seen. That's been the laggard there. And you can see where that's at as far as the futures go. So we got this catch-up trade. The Russell made a nice move. It rested yesterday. So let's see if this can move up today. This morning it's really not doing too much here. Move down, consolidating. So nothing of significance here happening in the moment. Gold has just been a big disappointment as far as starting to get going. It's just breakout failure back in the middle of the trading range. Silver, nothing to do. Right? Just flip-flopping around here. And crude oil, it looks lower. Maybe this is a continuation pattern lower. I don't know yet. But maybe it's a little breakdown failure. Right? Look at the retracement here. Similarly, it would have to take out these highs. It's trending down. It's weak, and I know all of that. And it couldn't get going up here. So for me, this is just a stay away until something more significant happens. Interest rates, same story. We thought like something was going to happen here where it was going to go lower, but it flipped up and it's just big range, little range, nothing to take away from this at this moment either. All right. The gaps quickly. So yesterday we had that gap down under the bar and it held up there. So the Qs couldn't close deep into the red bar. So one of the comments yesterday was, okay, that's a bearish gap. You can go back and watch the videotape, but one of the comments were, hey, this thing is still in an uptrend. Don't get too enamored by that down. So from a intraday trading perspective, okay, it's a gap down and it could drop, but it didn't. Right? That was kind of amazing. You remember the big wide range nasty bars, you know? And it was like that looked pretty convincing that it was going to go lower. And it just it flipped right back up again. They were everywhere. Um, so maybe options expiration, whatever it was, they were big bars. So this didn't recuperate very much, didn't go down either, but you um, I don't have the diamonds in here. Anyway, you get the idea. So SPY, had the big bar and it came back. So is it you know, overly bullish? Maybe, but it came back. They're buying the dip. And I associate that in part to this options expiration where, there's a tendency more to get things to jiggle around within a certain area. But, next week sometime is going to tell the tale. In any event, it's in an uptrend. It came back. Um, it held up here even after the gap down recovered. So that's bullish. The weekly chart is bullish. Moving averages are pointing up. And, whatever. Latest favorite indicator, Ichikumi cloud or whatever it might be, is probably communicating similar things. Well, it could be up and away. It could be that vertical climactic kind of move. We shall see. Ideally, that doesn't happen. And why do you think, well, why not? Well, because when that happens, the party is over for a while. Whereas if it just stalls here and it pulls back into this area, doesn't really damage the weekly trend, especially in a big way, or it goes sideways, that's more price action that supports it continues to go higher. And, since new all-time highs, there's nothing to stop it. And I want to see the Dow participate. The more things that line up, meaning here's this options expiration piece of information. It doesn't tell us what's going to happen today. We look at our market internals. Right? We look at our intermarket analysis and we look at patterns, right? Techno fundamentals. And so as those things come together and they're more in agreement with each other, and then say we get a gap down day like we did yesterday, or it gaps up and we get a big red bar like this, right? The more tools, if you will, that come into alignment with each other, the greater the probability of being a high probability turning point. That doesn't mean you short something in an uptrend, but maybe you want to buy puts with some time value to them, a month or what have you. You do credit spreads, call spreads, because as long as the trend is up from a swing trading perspective, unless you're getting a M top or head and shoulders top, some big distribution pattern, doesn't make sense to be shorting from a swing trading perspective. So anyway, so prices are gapping slightly up there, and pivot highs over here. If it pulls back, right, what was resistance should become support. And there it is. All right, so gapping up a little bit and SPX, and then I'm handing it over to Dan. And yesterday being a narrow range day, and again, I mentioned in the green room a few times yesterday as things were going up. Look at what the high volume strike is. And what was the high volume strike yesterday? I'm scrolling this back. 74, 64, 70. So it's a little area poked above, and then it closed below it. So keeping an eye on that during the day as things get moving. So it's pretty reliable as a one thing to look at. All right, so this is above. So any down move, you always want to be a below. Amazing, isn't coming up more. I think that's a good thing. Remember a month or two ago how tight things would get? Like over here, things would get really tight, or they'd come up as the market would come up. Those put side would come up really fast. Oh, above 6,500. 6,500 could be in the cards today. This market can get some momentum going. 515. Let's put that there. Let me capture this and then Dan can take over. All right, everyone. All yours, Dan. Have a great day. Those of you on social media, I'll drop a link in there for the green room. You can consider joining us. Have a great time there. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Happy 0DTE Friday. We're coming towards the end of earnings season. Let me look at our gappers first, like always. So there's Goldman here. I've been watching it ever since the breakout, ever since Tuesday. So now we got a 1, 2, 3. A little extended here on the 15, but that could be a nice 30-minute high, a directional 5-minute high. I just posted on Telegram 5-minute high. We can do a put spread for next week. Buffett, his whatever report came out, the things he added, so he's moving some things. Well, that's UNH. So the Dow is up. I would say, well, Cream is up 3, Goldman 2.5, but otherwise it's all UNH. 100% of this is UNH gap up, and it's because of every time this happens, I just shake my head. Nothing fundamentally has changed one iota. And then a report comes out and talks about money funds, buying a stock over the last 3 months, and the stock gap's up 11%. You can't change human nature. So, but I've been watching this sector for months, ever since that nasty crack. So this might be our turn day. Like all along here, we did not have a turn. And so what's a turn? A big potent reversal that comes in different flavors. A gap down reversal, a bottoming tail, breakdown failure, wide range igniting. And today, as long as this gap holds, it's a gap breakout. So we've been watching CNC, very similar trading. Let's see if it holds a gap. That could be 30-minute highs. Other stuff in the news here, Intel. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I'm looking at this. Trump saying now the U.S. might invest in them, which is a bailout. It's a partial bailout. I don't agree with that. The government stay out of private enterprise. But I wonder how much of this move kind of had that a little bit of that priced in. But this is when the CEO went to the White House. Let's just go alarms here. A bat up alarm. We bought this yesterday. Nice multi-week turn. Buy set weekly. So that looks good. Hasbro up alarm. I had an alarm way up here go off. I said sell half pre-market in Telegram. And my Molar bid bottoming pattern. That'd be a great put spread, 130. So let's take a look at bottoming daily, bottoming weekly, and still downtrend monthly, but a downtrend after down from 315. Let's cut in half. So this is the intelligent place to see if it's going to break out. So it could be a 30-minute high idea. earnings here, and I deleted a bunch already. NU 13, so that's a pro gap, but it's excessive. So we need a pullback. But I said this one, I said if it opened flat, then I like it over Wednesday's high. Let me set them. Oh, I have an alarm. I'll set alarm 324. YouTube's asking about curve. Yeah, yeah, that's ugly. Yeah, yeah, that's ugly. On this gap down on Wednesday, I was looking for a call spread. I didn't think it would fall that much. Wow. Circle here also failed its turn, and they're doing a secondary offering. I think it's at 130. QUBT. That 14, yeah, maybe big trade short. I just had an alarm on Mondelez go off. I don't see any prints, but it looks like my alarm up here went off. Let's keep an eye on this over Wednesday's high. That's a climb off. TMC. This was one I said if it opened flat, it can be a day trade short. It's gapping down 50 cents though, which is pretty big percent. AMAC getting killed. I actually did a condor on this, which is going way against me on the put side. I'll just try to leg out of it, but I notice that's dragging down LRCX. That's a perfect 0 DTE call spread watch. And flat, getting whacked, 904. Wow, that is a big gap. Man, getting down $50 on AMAT's earnings. But I don't think we're going to get any juice on that. SanDisk, 43, gap in the middle of no man's land, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe a 0 DTE or Glob. We were saying yesterday, look at the downtrend daily, weekly, monthly. But I don't know what they do, but that stock's in trouble. Could it maybe? Actually, it's big enough gap. 30-minute high, 0 DTE. Put. Now I was hoping this would have had a bullish gap, maybe over yesterday's high, because then you have a big void. But it's gapping down, so it's nothing. There's nothing to do now. That's still weak. BTCM. Nothing to do. Lean. I was hoping this would open flat, and then that would have been a good long. So that's ugly. Saita. Gapping down, nothing to do. That was another one. I was hoping that open flat for directional. Bazay. Gapping up. I actually bought some of this yesterday, and I sold it pre-market. That's up a lot. GWH 193. That's a bullish gap. That could be a 30-minute high if you like trading cheapo stocks. GWH. Beam. Nothing, but I do like the buy setup on the weekly, but there's no void on the daily. This was one I said if it opened flat, you could short the low. I don't see any prints, but my minder is showing 1079. So let's see where that opens. 1079 is not an excessive gap. So if it does open it there, then we can do a short of 5-minute low. That, no pattern. S-bit. Yeah, this thing trades crazy. Up and down, no pattern. All right, so that I'm done with earnings. These are just miscellaneous leftover stocks. Cough, that was on Sam's list. Little continuation of this 1, 2, 3. Bib I talked about. Open, I liked yesterday. I nibbled on this yesterday and I sold it pre-market also, but now it's gapping up too much. That was a nice. Let's say it rallied to resistance, right? But it gapped down and then sliced through resistance. So that was your entry. Atlanta DHI said he also took some positions in this. Man, we missed a lot of these housing stocks. I was watching them for a while, thinking they were bottoms because look, I love the monthly turn also, and I just stopped watching them. I think I was watching them here on this, thinking it would rip here and see how it made another new low, and so I'm gonna kick us all for that. Look, XHB's had a big move, but nothing to do with Len now. Actually 136, that's a 0 DTE call spread. 30-minute low, same with DHI, 169. I mean, they're bullish, but I'm just talking 0 DTE. NUE was another one Buffett took, but that's a bullish pattern. That would have been a buy over. That would have been a buy over the week's high. So UNH here, nothing to do. HIMS, I think the FTC is after them. That's one of one of those weight loss drug things. Intel, got 0 DTE. Sell the news. That big old move, and now you're getting a gap up on that news. I would say Q's starting off here with a wide range down bar. All right, so let's see, 25.50s. Hey, the 26 calls, 19 cents. I'm gonna do that right now. All right, Phil. All right, so that's $1.50 higher. All right, so I'm in that. I just popped them. VST low alarm. That's one of our open longs. VST. All right, that's an early alarm, but this thing, we bought it over that green bar, and it's just underperforming. But we'll just let it play out. VST. Hey, this AMAT, actually, I see that there's some buying here. Nice intel. Look at that thing crashing. This 30-minute high is a put spread idea. I mean, it fits in the category of nasty gap. Let's see if we can hold here for 30 minutes. All right, I'm already at 50% of max profit on Intel. So, but I want more just because it's zero DTE. If it were for next week, I'd be probably closing them. IBB up alarm. Nice. We're in this in the ETF letter. VFC. Yeah, day trade, but I don't like that the markets are coming in, Alex. That's the problem. Up alarm. Oh, that's IBP. IBP, we're in 38, 15, 6, AMTM alarm. Yeah. Oh man, that was a breakup failure. I actually killed mine yesterday. I think I lost a dime, but I didn't like yesterday's gap. Yeah, FT. Yeah, we talked about that pre-market. Yeah, but it's a short-term exhaustion gap. That's exactly how we define it. It's up a lot, and now you're gapping up. And learn. Oh, that's another gap. MRP alarm. We are long this. Let's see if this is a real stop or an early alarm. MRP 3180. So that's not that break even. All right. Marijuana, M sauce is up again, but that's, obviously still momentum. WST. Hey, WST. We bought that yesterday. Looks great. Up alarm. And I said you could add yesterday's high. It had a beautiful 15-minute chart. 251. Is that we have calls that expire today. So we're gonna have to tighten the stops. No, my bad. They expire in August. Never mind. Let's get my alarm.
WST has a little more than a $2 spread, so you could probably bid for it.
Oh, well, we're in it from yesterday, but thanks. Yeah, no, I would never give anything had I known a spread like that. Bitcoin
I
selling
mean, it's a
off.
$200 stock, but still.
No, I would never give that had I known. Like Alex had a beautiful buy set up the other day that I was gonna buy until I saw it had an 80-cent spread. And I get that. Usually low. The CNC healthcare stock doing well. Nice bottom. That'd be a good 30-minute high. I still want to see if it's going to hold. See utilities selling off here. Jets are strong. Just glancing at my 15-minute charts. Things are messy. XLV gapped up. TAN solar gapped up. No good puts on this. I don't know. Yeah, that looks good. CNC. All right, Mo, actually, now in retrospect, that's not a very impressive gap, actually. But for a bottom, let me check puts for next week, or even today. I do the 160s, 15 cents. Nope. Ouch, still massive premium for next week. Where are these lows? I can do the 150s. They're spready though. All right, I'm going to try to sell the 135s naked for $1.40. And 135s and 140s. See if I get film. PS2 is not looking good at all now. Greg, XLU, let me see where our stop is.
What was that?
I'm looking at our stop on XLU. I have it break even 84.90, which was under that big green bar. So just let it. No, 84.90 would be a gain. So yeah, it's under that green bar. It would be a gain though, but I noticed utilities selling off there. All right, nothing to do then. Let it play out.
Which green bar can you point to it, please?
That's one. What do you think? It's 8.7.
It's too tight for an ETF trade.
It's a Climo on the weekly. Green bar ignored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inside bars. Void to the.
It's extended on the weekly. It came out of a base. It was doing nothing for a while.
I think it's going to the gap fill. You want to turn that into a loser?
It happens sometimes and turns around. That's where support is, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a longer term setup and it broke out of a consolidation, you're trading it like a swing trade instead of a, I won't use the word core, but you know what I mean.
well, the weekly's extended or give it more room. There, DCAS holding low. We have a put spread. But we're flat on it. Oh, shoot, Intel came back. Wasn't watching you. Dude, now I'm back to break even. No, that's not true. I was looking at a different thing. All right, I'm going to kill it. I'm still at 50% of max profit, even though it took out the high. How crazy is that? It's because they were jacked at the open. All right, I just took my money and be done with it.